1 in every 6 Americans is now jobless. Last week another 4 million people filed for unemployment. That means in the last 6 weeks, more than 30 million Americans lost their jobs. The workforce in America is less than 100 million. Continuing claims is about half where it should be, considering 30 million plus are not working. Also, those initial claims numbers are way too low, considering people are still desperately trying to log into unemployment filing websites to submit their initial claims and are being booted off. Economists expect 50 million total unemployed in a couple of months. Most of those jobs won't come back because the economy was on the verge of collapse, and tens of thousands of bankruptcies were expected anyway. And remember the 94 million who had dropped out of the economy and stopped participating and stopped being counted? That makes the total over 140 million people, more than half the country, out of work. State websites for unemployment crash every few seconds. The numbers are way higher. There is far more than 30 million unemployed. The real unemployment rate is north of 30% on its way to 40%. The real number is much higher than that. A lot of people haven't been able to file due to website issues, or have filed by mail and have not heard back from their states. This is the worst employment crisis in US history. The worst in our lifetime. And yet the fraud they call a market is near all-time highs while the real economy sinks into the abyss. Sad days indeed. We have bailed out JP Morgan, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, AIG, and more during the 2008 recession, and we are here again bailing out multinational corporations and banks again. Was it worth it? I would wager anywhere between 40 to 60% unemployment is now the new normal. Gee, it's a good thing we can produce money out of nothing. Unemployment numbers don't count those whose hours were cut, and those who won't sit on their hands and collect unemployment. Many will get a job at Domino's, the supermarkets, or in the cash economy after they are laid off from their higher-paying service sector jobs. Mission accomplished. They didn't lose their jobs. They had their jobs destroyed with bad intentions too. These measures are certainly not in any of our best interests. The kicker is they knew what they were doing. They knew it was criminal and did it anyway. They knew it would make it far worse. And did it anyway. They knew exactly what they were doing. And did it anyway. Without mercy or remorse. America is being systematically destroyed. If they succeed, next comes a police state. And the American idiot watches passively from their lockdown as they all wait hopefully for their promised $1,200 while the government throws $7 trillion at everyone else. I love the unemployment figures, cause this just might wake up the starving plebes to for the first time in their lives vote for reality, not false promises. But I doubt it. Welcome back to the Atlantis Report. You are here for your daily dose of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The American economy, with each crisis, corporate power gets greater. With every financial crash, politicians escape early. Labor loses more value. Voters look like idiots. Another report out today shows the US economy shrank by nearly 5% from January through March. That's the biggest contraction since the 2008 recession. And that is just a taste of what's to come. With some economists predicting that the GDP will contract at an annual rate of 30% or more. And yet the stock market goes up over 600 points with this news. Talk about a Ponzi scheme. The stock market rises while unemployment and deaths rise. This paints a picture of what Congress and the stock market care about, and it's not the lower and middle class. When 10% of the population owns 80% of the market, it's not that difficult to change the direction of the runs. Stocks don't care about your economy. It's because of companies are buying back their stocks with the government bailout to artificially raise the stock. The higher the stock market gets, the poorer we get. The US is in deep trouble. The US also had early warnings. The virus spread to South Korea shortly after Wuhan. Compare South Korea's response to the US's. If we had done as well as them, we could be legitimately reopening the economy about now. Lockdowns are a waste of time and energy. This pandemic is the beginning of the end. The end of the pandemic? No. The end of freedom and democracy in the United States. Said it before, but from what I saw, money started pulling out of the system last summer. They really did an amazing job pulling off this heist. I'm truly impressed. The most stupid thing any person can think of is that this is an accident. On a global scale, humanity is being played for a mass ship of fools. There is a plan, a scheme, an implementation of a program being set in place while we turn on one another and abet the purpose of that agenda. Where the general population is split along so many lines, it resembles graph paper. Those who are bringing this about are not divided in the least. This virus is only a catalyst, as are other even worse mechanisms that will be employed to bring about what is in store for us. There are no political parties, no diversity in any government to rely upon. There's those at the top and the rest of mankind. It's about control. We will be surveilled 24/7. Once contact tracing comes out, they'll have all of our medical info. Cryptocurrency is just around the bend, and a credit system, whereas, if you don't behave properly, you will lose points. Sorry, no travel for you. Many hospitals will close, then universal healthcare kicks in, so you can get your knee replaced in 2024, only if your credit score is high enough. Get the drift? Trump is playing us like a fiddle. It is all a controlled demolition. The question is, can they maintain control, or will they finally go too far? Like the old analogy about the frog in the pot of warm water. Will they continue to gradually turn up the heat until the frog cooks, or will they move too quickly and alert the frog to the danger? The unforeseen consequences of a single act are unimaginable. A naked chick walks up to a guy with an apple and tells him to take a bite. He does, and here we are. The economy was taken out back and shot in the head. The full impact of that has yet to be realized. Supply chains are breaking, and government intervention will not stop it. Nancy Pelosi wants $1 trillion in mouse-clicked dollars to prop up unsustainable local and state governments. Trump wants trillions to prop up failed big business. Both parties want trillions to keep desperate out of the streets. Conjured money has a long way to go before it can bring a potato from Idaho and put it in a bag in a Florida Publix. Sending people a check to not work is a very short-term solution. In my state, those who are 70 years old and above account for 9% of the population and 30% of the COVID cases. But they account for 78% of the deaths. Half of those were in nursing homes. Why is the other 91% of the population in lockdown? Protect those at risk, let the others get on with their life. But of course, this was never about a pandemic. This is all politics at this point. Lockdowns equals economic suicide. Economic suicide equals poverty, hunger, death. This generation of Americans who are living right now, watched in real time as one of the greatest empires the world has ever known, commit economic suicide. The economy will be a necronomy if we don't open back up. This just hastened the demise of the retail economy, which was already struggling to survive. All the neighborhood movie theaters, bars, restaurants, malls, you name it, are dead in the water. Why would a small business owner ever sink their money into something like that, knowing the feds could shut it down in a moment if they smelled some political advantage, which is exactly what happened here. The most important risk of lockdowns: critical system failure. We can lose millions of lives if a widespread outage of any critical system, power, water, cell service, internet, supply chains, cascades into the others. Cities, states, and even regions could be plunged into a collapse scenario with no warning. We deliberately build a fragile interconnected web of these systems, on purpose, to save money. Any sector reliant on exports is dying. And no one could have seen it coming. Well, see it now. It's lives versus lives, and the math isn't even close. The great out for the pro-lockdown side is this. Even though they predicted over 2 million people would die, if only 80,000 passes away, they will claim, see. Because of our lockdown, almost 2 million lives were saved. It's impossible to prove, yet they will take the righteous side. On the other hand, when 10 million people do indeed die due to the hopelessness of their situation, whether it's unpayable debt, drug overdoses, suicides, etc., those against the lockdown will not be able to claim that these tragic deaths were the direct result of an insane economic shutdown policy. Let us pray that the latter scenario does not play itself out. They now have 30 million unemployed by the balls, step out of line, and no soup for you. Then there are about 2.5 million federal workers, contractors, and about 1 million badged peace officers in total with admin counted. Add 1 million armed service personnel who usually do what they're told, and another 10 million lifelong welfare recipients who can't feed themselves. What have you got to work with now? A welfare nation that can't step out of line for fear of getting their digital food stamps deleted. For the most part, it's over. We are now a nation of slaves forever, powerless to change anything. That's because we have been preached to about fear for the last 8 weeks. And we are afraid to even be close to our friends out of these perceived fear it could kill us. They have achieved a level of paranoia that is unmatched in US history. Even if you are rational and you have very little if any chance of getting sick, let alone dying, the fear seeds have been planted. Just as I know friends that will not hike in the woods out of the fear of Lyme disease and snakes. Yet these same folks buy lottery tickets thinking they have a shot at winning the big prize. This was the Atlantis Report. Please like, share, subscribe. And please take some time to subscribe to my backup channels, I do upload videos there too. You'll find the links in the description box. You will also find a PayPal link if you want to make a donation. Thank you wholeheartedly to all those of you who have already donated. Stay safe and healthy, friends.